On February 24th, 2020, Sarah Boone and her boyfriend, Jorge Torres, were spending an evening together at Sarah's home. The two were drinking, and what happened that night is almost inexplicable. George got inside of a suitcase that was then zipped shut. At one point, he wanted to get out and pleaded with Sarah to open the suitcase, but she refused. Instead, she turned on the video camera on her phone and started to record as George begged for his life. Still, she refused to unzip the suitcase. George died, and now Sarah has been charged with second-degree murder. Once she was charged, Boone was locked up in jail waiting for her trial date. But each time the trial was scheduled, it got rescheduled again and again and again. The main problem, Sarah's difficulty with her representation. 8 different attorneys have tried to represent her, and all 8 have dropped out of the case. The judge said 8 is enough, and he was going forward with the trial, so she would have to represent herself. And then Sarah Boone filed this want ad looking for a lawyer. Would anyone answer that ad? Would anyone step forward to save Sarah from representing herself? Tonight, we speak live with the man who answered the call, the man who will, believe it or not, represent Sarah Boone.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. I'm back from vacation. The calendar has now moved. We're past Labor Day. We're in September, a new month. And what that means really in the judicial calendar is a lot of cases get set up for the fall. And every year, year after year at Court TV, there are always huge cases that are ready to go, whether it's September or October. Get the big ones on the plate, get them going before the holidays hit. They'll be here before you know it. So the fall is always prime time for big cases on Court TV, including one that we've been following, and I've been following for years now. It's getting close to half a decade on this one. Talking about the Suitcase case. The one where the suitcase is not for the remains of the victim after the victim is murdered and then dismembered. No, the suitcase in this case is the murder weapon. Never seen it before. It's a first, but that's the case that prosecutors say they have against a woman named Sarah Boone. And Sarah Boone first called 911 and said she found her boyfriend dead in the suitcase and they were playing hide and seek. Like, that was the original story that we heard. When this story broke and we first started covering back in 2020, they're playing hide and seek, and I was trying to figure out how does that work? Did he zip himself in the suitcase? If so, how did he do it if they're playing hide and seek? But the more you peel back the layers of what happened in her story, it wasn't traditional hide and seek. She has seemingly conceded or admitted that she zipped up the suitcase, at least in some of the information that's been made public so far in this case. So that was back in 2020. And then we kept waiting for these trial dates to happen again and again and again, and they never seemed to happen. Never happened, because there's always a problem with Sarah Boone and her lawyers. 8 different lawyers have left representing Sarah Boone. 8. Something else I don't think we've ever seen before here on Court TV through all these years. That someone can't find a lawyer that she gets along with, that will be willing to step in and represent her in this case. So, at one point, the judge just had it and said, you got to represent yourself. And we've seen on Court TV how that turns out for some defendants like Darrell Brooks. It never ends well for someone representing themselves, especially in a case, this is a second-degree murder case. There's a lot at stake here. And for someone who's never tried a case, someone who's not a lawyer, to try to go up against the state and try to prove or try to challenge the prosecution's proof, you're not going to be able to do that. It's going to be a disaster. You know how that one's going to end. So I think Sarah Boone was smart enough, and I think she realized that. And she wanted a lawyer. And she actually, in one of her letters to the judge and the filings that are made that become public records, there was this piece of paper that was like a want ad for her looking for someone to represent her. Take a listen as my producer reads it.
Inmate seeks attorney. Looking for a prosperous challenge? Ready for your close-up on national television? Are you zealous with the side of keen? Show the world who you are with your original creativity, extraordinary expertise, confident ingenuity. Qualifications must include being trustworthy, honest, passion-driven, open-minded, exceptional problem-solving skills, client inclusion at all times, team orientation, collaboration, extreme efficiency in listening, communicating, understanding, dedication to success, possessing a winning mindset, capability of excellence in representation, committed, maintaining faith in the client and case with the ability to think differently, overcome all circumstances. Epic opportunity awaits. Sarah Boone, number 20005623, Orange County Corrections Department. Invest in the oppressed. Believe.
So who would believe in Sarah Boone? Well, someone did step forward to take this case. Yes, an attorney in Florida. Joining me by phone, Sarah Boone's 9th attorney, James Owens. James, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Vinnie, for having me.
Okay, the first question I know everyone's asking you, why? Why did you take this case, James?
Well, you know, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watch a lot of court TV, and I've been following this case just like all the other true crime people do, and you know, kept watching it being delayed and the lawyers being switched, and then saw that the judge got fed up and ruled that she had forfeited her right to a court-appointed counsel. And so that's a rare event. You know, as lawyers, we know that, you know, everybody has a right to a lawyer, a court-appointed lawyer, if you can't afford one. So on a serious charge, a felony, in this case it was a murder, for the judge to revoke that right was a serious decision on his part. I don't disagree. I respect the court's decision, but that left her facing a murder charge without a lawyer, which is unheard of, I think. And so, you know, I watched for a while, and then I saw the ad on your show, and I think that you had said something implying, hey, who's gonna take the case? What lawyer in Florida is gonna pick up the torch, so to speak? And I think you had somebody on, maybe it was a lawyer from the Northeast, and I think I remember that lawyer saying, man, if I was a license in Florida, I'd take the case, you know, under that scenario, because she really needs a lawyer. Everybody needs a lawyer. And so the ad came out, and I sat there and waited for 3 or 4 weeks. I can't remember now how long I waited, but I was thinking that a lawyer out of Orlando would pick up the case. Somebody would think, hey, this is not right. There's no way she's going to get a fair trial representing herself. It's unfair. But there's a gap in the system. The judge made a decision based on her conduct that she had forfeited a right to a lawyer. I believe that's where the private sector has got to step in. Somebody in the private sector in that situation, and it's rare, should step in. So, like I say, I waited. Nobody responded in the local area. So I just happened to have a case down in Hillsborough County that I was going to, down in Tampa. And so I knew I was scheduled for court down there. So about a week before that, I sent her a letter, and she had a third party contact me to, I guess, check me out to see if I was legitimate. And
well, I think everyone's been checking you out in the last couple of days, and everybody knows you are absolutely legitimate, James. I mean, you have quite a history.
I've been doing it a long time. I've been doing it a long time. So anyway, she reached out to me, and then a couple of days later, Sarah called me from the jail in Orange County, in Orlando. And we talked for a little bit, and I explained to her that I was coming down that Wednesday, but I'd come down early and spend Tuesday talking to her, and she agreed. So I drove down Monday after work. Tuesday morning,
can you describe that meeting without, I know attorney-client communications is off limits, but how would you describe that meeting to someone? Like, was it different than meeting other clients for the first time?
The first meeting?
Yeah.
No, it was, it was a 4-hour meeting. I usually don't meet with clients in the jail for that long, so I gave her a chance to talk and just listened. For a long time, she had a lot to say. Obviously, she's been in jail for 4 years. And, we had a good meeting. Just, again, I think she has trust issues because she felt like she did have some good lawyers that were on her case and just withdrew because they would get in some arguments about issues, I guess. And so she said they wouldn't even tell her anything at the jail, but the next thing you know, she would, be sent to court, and the lawyer had filed a motion to withdraw. So she didn't, trust the lawyers because she didn't know who to trust. She'd been with so many. So a lot of it was just trying to build trust with her. After she talked a little bit, I told her a little bit about myself. So really feeling each other out and trying to build some kind of rapport was the first meeting, which was about 4 hours. But I think early on in the case, I was able to persuade her that I knew what I was talking about because I was prepared. When I got there, I was prepared, and I played part of that 4 hours. I played the prosecutor, and I pulled out the jury instructions, and I made an argument as a prosecutor would make to a jury, and I had her sit there and listen to it. And I think that was effective. I don't think she had anybody ever do that to her and explain it to her that way of how it would play out in court. And that got her attention. And, initially I was going down there. Now, let me tell you, my initial thought going down there was this. She didn't have a lawyer. And once that happens, once they're pro se, then you know as well as I do that all these cases are up for negotiation. Plea agreements are pretty much on the table at any time, and judges recommend, the courts recommend, you try to work cases out. The vast majority of cases get worked out with pleas. So, I talked to her about that, and that was my intent. I'd called the prosecutor and told him I was coming down there to speak with her ahead of time, and he wanted me to file some kind of a notice of appearance, and I didn't want to do that. I wasn't ready to take on the case. So I got her to sign a document essentially saying, hey, I don't want to negotiate directly with you, state attorney. I would like for James Owens to work, just to talk to you. And so she signed that, and I did, for a couple of days, talk to the prosecutor. I was trying to resolve it.
Right.
And I felt like the judge is fixing to have a 3-week trial with a pro se defendant. Prosecutor is fixing to have a trial with a 3-week trial with a pro se defendant. It was not going to be fair. And I felt like they might be in a posture to try to negotiate something that would be doable. So that was my first intent, was not to handle the case, not to try the case. If we got something worked out, then I would file a notice of appearance, and we'd set it for a court date to resolve it.
That didn't happen,
was my first. No, it didn't. And I left that 4-hour meeting. I went to Tampa the next day, had court, and then turns out the investigator that had been assigned to the pro se litigant, Sarah Boone, he was meeting with her that evening at 7. So I asked if I could just join. So I came back over and spent about an hour and a half with her and Billy Lane, the investigator. And we talked some more, and I was convinced that there was going to be no plea bargaining. So I told her I was not representing her, and I was leaving. And I emailed the prosecutor, or called the prosecutor, and said, "Look, we've reached an impasse. There's no agreement, and I'm not going to be representing her." And I went home. And I want to say a couple of days later, Sarah called me, and we talked some more. And I told her Vinny, you know.
So, but at this
second-degree
point, she's
murder
now
is-
reaching out to you because she wants James Owens to represent her.
Well, we did connect. We did connect. And I think she was overwhelmed being her own lawyer. She was stressed out.
Yeah.
She had all this discovery that she was trying to go over. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know the rules of procedure, rules of evidence. And she had told the judge, I think they'd had a couple of hearings on some issues, and she said, Judge, this is not fair. I don't know what I'm doing. And the judge kept saying, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is your position. So I think she was just thankful that I came down to see her. We had, some good meetings. So I think she really needed some help. So I think that was partly to do with it. But there were still some issues because I think she was let down because I said I wasn't going to represent her.
Right.
So we got off the phone. I still said I wasn't committed to it, but I was thinking about it. But as you know, second-degree murder trial, and the judge had set a firm date for October the 7th, which is really difficult to do. I mean, you pretty much have to shut down your practice for 30 days or 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
And just to try to catch up and just be, which is essentially what I'm having to do. Now,
well, you've seen the body cam, all the interrogation videos, the 911 call, and then, of course, the cell video. It starts there, right? But in terms of getting prepared in 30 days for this trial, that's 4 years old and a lot of things have happened. Can you do it? And will you be ready?
Well, I'm gonna do my best with the time I've got left. That's all I can do. I'm gonna get some help. I've got to get some staff helping me. I've got a couple of lawyers that are buddies of mine that have offered their help. So
I should send that lawyer from the Northeast down to help you. Joseph Krowski is the guy.
Yeah.
We'll let him know that he's the reason that you jumped in the case. He may fly down there to help you. He's up in Boston. It's cold. He may come down and help you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I've got two lawyers that, like I say, I think are going to help me, are pretty much committed to it. They're friends of mine, and I trust them, and they want to help me. And they realize I thought the case was going to be continued. I respect the judge's decision, but I really, really thought.
Let me ask you this. Have you spoken to any of the other 8?
Yes. I spoke to Ms. Cashman, who was the last lawyer that had it. I've tried to speak to Mr. Padilla out of Miami. He's the one that had the case initially. He had it for about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. He did most of the discovery, took most of the depositions. I think they were pretty much ready for trial or getting close, and he withdrew. But I've tried to call him a couple of times. I know he's been in a double homicide case he just got out of, but I never was able to speak with him.
And you're doing this pro bono? I don't think she has much cash.
No.
What are you getting?
Well, Sarah's got to pay me back one day.
Okay. Okay.
That was the agreement I had. I wanted her to understand that she needs to be self-reliant and she needs to be responsible for fees. I've got a bunch of clients that are paying me, and some of them only pay $50 a month. And but it's important to me. It's important to them, that we have an arrangement to make payments, and that's what I told her.
Do you think?
I feel.
Do you think she needs to tell her story in the courtroom?
Well, Sarah's a unique individual. I don't know. In a criminal case, is the time to tell her whole story. I think if it's necessary, she'll take the stand. We're just going to see how the case plays out. We'll make that decision when the time comes. Of course, she's got a lot to say. She's filed a lot of pleadings, a lot of letters.
We've seen them. Trust me, we've seen them. So, James, this is what I want to do. I want to stay in contact with you, and then we are legitimately going to reach out to Joseph Krowski to see if he is willing to get down there if he needs an extra hand. But also wanted to let you know that I wanted to let you go now because I know you've got some discovery. You got a couple more hours tonight. You can jump in there and as you get ready for this. But I hope that we can reach out to you as we get closer and closer to the trial and grab a couple minutes of your time.
Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate you.
James Owens, folks, this is how the system works. It doesn't work if lawyers just look away. and don't jump in like this. Everyone, whether you believe they're guilty or not guilty, it doesn't matter. Without defense attorneys stepping in like James Owens is in this case, the whole system crumbles. It absolutely crumbles. So pretty amazing that he jumped into this as lawyer number 9. Okay, we got a lot to get to still. When we come back, we'll bring in our think tank. What do they think about this? Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the subject of the true crime podcast, Serial. Adnan Syed was a free man after his conviction was vacated in 2022. But now 2 years later, that conviction has been reinstated. What does this mean? We'll investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan
In every story, in every trial, every case, there's at least 2 sides to it.
to dive into the latest
Oh my God.
and breaking true crime stories.
This was a very targeted, very personal attack.
Inside
I've never seen that in Discovery. I've been incarcerated 3 years.
and outside of the courtroom.
She's a psychopath.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
You got to understand, Sarah's been through 8 lawyers, so there's some trust issues. And on both sides, you know, I'm concerned, is she going to try to fire me, or we're going to have problems the same way, as you can imagine. But, you know, I like her. She likes me. We communicate well. I think we're both on the same page. And, you know, I spoke to my family, my wife, my daughter Sarah about it. Sarah's thinking about law school, so I got their blessing. I have, you know, some colleagues that I practice law with, a law group there in Milton. And obviously it's going to take some staff to pull something like this off.
How about that, folks? Somebody step forward to represent Sarah Boone. James Owens is his name, really experienced attorney, but he's nowhere near Orlando. He's closer to Pensacola. If you don't know anything about Florida, you don't just drive. That's a flight. So he's stepping up. He's stepping in. Let's get some reactions, some perspective from our think tank tonight. Joining us, trial attorney, fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ann Bremner is with us. Also joining us, trial attorney, former police lieutenant Rick King, and the state attorney for Palm Beach County, Harvard Smarty, Dave Arenberg. Great to see everyone. Can I start here, because I got 2 Florida guys here, but Dave, you can't do it. But Rick, do you want to be part of the team? You want to jump up to Orlando and help James out? He needs a little bit of help.
You know, the one thing that he said, he said a lot of things that were right, but there's one thing he said was, you know, in order to try to do something like this, you got to put the rest of your practice down. There's no way that you can come together from September to October the 7th without putting the rest of your practice down. And it's, for me right now, that would be impossible. But big ups. I really give Mr. Owens a lot of credit, and I'm a lot of respect for him for taking up this cause, because he's right.
He stepped up. He's stepping up.
Yeah.
Ann Bremner, first of all, are you surprised that someone did it? Number one, and are you surprised that they responded to me placing the ad here on Closing Arguments?
As to the second one, not at all. Everyone watches you, and that's what Mr. Owens just said, right? But I'm not surprised. I think he's a great guy for doing it. Like you said, our profession and the courts need this. But wouldn't the courts reimburse him through the public defenders payments that would be given to someone that appeared on her behalf through their office? I mean, I was just wondering about that, because it's a pretty noble thing to undertake, but an expensive one at basically the expense of his practice.
Yeah, but I think the judge appointed like 8 different lawyers at one point.
Right.
Dave Arenberg, I'm a former prosecutor, you're a prosecutor, but I think we all appreciate, as prosecutors, defense attorneys stepping in and stepping up. And I think it's going to help this prosecutor, even though it'll be a more difficult case. It's just not going to be as messy. It'll be a little bit more organized, less kind of, you know, being gentle that you need to be in the courtroom. You can just be yourself.
Vinnie, no prosecutor wants a circus, especially with a defendant like Miss Boone, who is high drama, who is very difficult to get along with. And I give a lot of respect for Mr. Owens for stepping up. But remember, this is a self-inflicted wound. This is something she did because of her conduct. She apparently wouldn't listen to her lawyers. She made it so difficult for them. They bailed on her. So when Mr. Owens says that, well, she has trust issues, look at yourself in the mirror, ma'am. You're the reason why these people bailed on you. And maybe once she can realize that it's her fault. Right now, it seems like she likes to blame everyone else for all of her problems. Hopefully, Mr. Owens will stay around. But, you know, we've seen this movie before where someone steps in and says, I can reform this person. I can change this person. I'll be the friend. And then people reveal their true colors soon enough, and then they end up like everyone else.
Yeah, but the difference here, I think Sarah Boone realized this trial is happening. It's not happening. Let me ask you, though, Rick, about the 4-hour initial meeting in the jail. Like, that's almost serving time if you're 4 hours behind bars with your client.
You know, honestly, my law partner, when she goes to the jail, she's in there for quite some time. So 4 hours, not really that bad, but it's a start for.
If you stay for 6, do you get to eat with the rest of the inmates? Like, how does that work? 4 hours is a long time. So let me play a little bit from today's hearing, because James was looking for more time, and here's how it all went down.
It is critical to my theory, our theory of defense, battered spouse syndrome. And as you know, that takes time to develop, especially when the motion basically speaks for itself, but we're in a time crunch. Essentially, the trial is set for October the 7th. I have to provide a notice of intent to rely on battered spouse syndrome 30 days prior, which is September 7th, which falls on a Saturday, so I believe that gives me till the next business day, Monday, September 9th. But still, 6 days for Dr. Julie Harper to come back out and visit with Ms. Vinnie, coupled with this other potential forensic psychologist, Dr. Michael Brandon. He's not going to have time to do that. They've got to establish a rapport with her before they can run the testing, spend the time with her. It involves some extensive history. Obviously, that couple was together for 3 or 4 years. I still have to peel back all the layers. That's just going to take a little bit of time, Judge. I'm thinking 2 or 3 months, and we'll be ready to go.
The state's position would be that we would oppose a continuance at this time. However, the state's not opposed to setting another status hearing sometime next week, possibly, where we could address this and to see if there has been any movement, anything that would either change the state's position or potentially the court's position as well.
You've met with Ms. Boone on 4 different occasions, that you just met with her yesterday for 2.5 hours. You were aware of what the order identified, which was in paragraph 6 of the order and a judge portion, that trial is specially set for October 7th. 2024, and that it would be not continued for any reason, absent extraordinarily good cause, and such extraordinarily good cause would not include the retention of counsel.
Dave Ehrenberg, are you surprised? Could this, if there's a conviction, could this be a problem on appeal?
Yes, this is my surprise. Look, I understand why the judge did this. The judge said no means no. He said you're not going to get another extension, and we're not giving you another court-appointed lawyer. That's it. So her only avenue is to get her own lawyer, but it meant no extension. And now you have the new lawyer saying, I need an extension. So I get why the judge denied it, but you're risking fate here. You're tempting fate because you're saying that we're going to be so secure that our future conviction will be upheld on appeal that I'm not going to grant you one more extension. I would have just said, go ahead with it. Even the prosecutor took a more, nuanced view of this. I mean, they don't want a conviction being overturned on appeal. That would be the worst situation for everyone involved, except for Sarah Boone.
Now, we heard James Owens talk about experts. All those experts are connected to his defense, which we believe they're going to attempt, if the experts agree, to a battered spouse defense. When we come back, we're going to talk about that and talk about the victim's history and the relationship here and the domestic violence that exists between the two.
Sometimes I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. I'm afraid of it.
Reeves Drive, Spring Village subdivision.
I'm afraid of his family.
Female, black dress, tan shirt, -0.
My son can't come over here because he's here.
My
I didn't know you needed that specific.
You didn't even include it at all.
Me in the ear. I saw light.
Okay, so he kicks the door open, jumps on top of you, punches you in the ear. Am I right? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay, that's about 5 months before the Suitcase incident where Sarah Boone is describing alleged abuse by her boyfriend, Jorge Torres. Now, there is a history here, and Jorge Torres has an arrest history. Take a look. June 15th, 2019, George is arrested for battery. June 18th, 2019, George is arrested for violation of a pretrial release condition. He was making contact with Sarah when he was not supposed to. Police were investigating something else and came across that. August 28th, 2019, George is arrested for battery as well. Then September 4th, 2019, George arrested for battery again. Now, September 4th, 2019, again, 5 months before the Suitcase incident, we've got body cam video of this alleged domestic violence incident response by police. Take a look.
George was hiding in the bathtub upstairs, okay?
Yes.
So, he gave me his side of things. I need you to give me your side of things in person right here. I know we kind of talked on the phone, but I need you to tell me what happened tonight. So what happened?
Okay, well, pardon my language, because it's not me. I was called a and
okay.
And I'm not a mother to my son.
Okay.
All the while, nonetheless, I was sleeping before that.
Okay. So you're woken up to him calling you names. Is that what you're saying?
I thought that I'm like, feed the beast, go outside and smoke a cigarette with him.
Okay.
Try to calm things down. Well, the whole time I was there saying nothing. Nothing. I was called names.
Okay. So you guys were smoking a cigarette, and he was calling you names, being verbally aggressive with you. Verbally abusive.
Before that, where I'm like, I don't want to get hit anymore. So I'm just going to go downstairs and smoke a cigarette with him to try to calm him down.
Okay. So you're saying, okay, I'm trying to get a timeline of things. So start from the beginning and give me the timeline.
Was that I was asleep?
Not literal time, but in a reference of incidents, how they occurred tonight.
I was asleep, and again, he comes in and wakes me up.
He wakes you up, okay.
He's out of sorts.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure things out.
Okay.
Where it's like, don't make it worse. Just go downstairs with him. Because he gets mad at me because I go to sleep.
Okay.
I go downstairs, smoke a cigarette. The whole time I'm being belittled.
Okay.
Pardon me for saying talk about.
Mm-hmm. And then?
I walked off barefoot.
Okay, so when did he hit you? You said he hit you.
That was in the bedroom.
When? I just asked for a timeline.
He woke me up.
Okay. He woke you up. By hitting you? Is that what you're telling me? Or what happened? I need you to tell me.
He kicked the door open. He's kicked the
You're adding a lot of details that I need you to be very concise with.
Sir?
When I'm telling you, I need a timeline of the events.
Yes.
How am I going to corroborate your story?
He kicked the door open. 4 times.
Uh-huh.
4th time, I gave in. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got punched in my ear. On the 4th time. Where I was like, don't do it anymore. Just go downstairs. Go smoke a cigarette.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
Okay.
And then I walked off barefoot.
Okay. And on the phone, you told me that you attacked him as well.
I didn't attack him.
You said you exchanged, you had a physical altercation on the phone. That's what you told me.
I pulled him off of me.
He said he has marks because I was fighting for my life.
I was being honest with you.
So how does this play? What does this mean? Let's bring back in our think tank Ann Bremner, Rick King, Dave Arenberg. Ann Bremner, are you seeing a battered spouse, a battered woman in this video? And do you think that this becomes relevant in the trial?
Well, I don't know if I see it or not, Vinny. I mean, the officer seems to not believe her, at least in my estimation, but she's definitely got that defense. And she called it in and she said she was attacked and everything else. It sounds like it's happened before. So this is something that she can allege. However, he's in a suitcase. So, I mean, does she let him out? You know, does she call the police, say, I put him in the suitcase to protect myself? No, she leaves him all night, and then it's tape recorded where she's saying, that'll teach you not. I'll teach you to cheat on me, things like that. So, I mean, the first case that we had on battered women's syndrome was the Thacker case, started in 77, ended in 80 in Washington State, that allowed for this defense. And it's relatively new. I think it's important for battered women. The question is, was she?
Okay, Rick King, let me put this up on the screen. This is from June 15th, 2019. The suitcase incident is February 2020. Sarah stated she was beaten up, face, head, legs, arms. She stated she begged George to stop. George stated, you're going to die. Sarah stated that George punched her in the head, flung her off the bed. Sarah stated the incident occurred due to George being upset about Sarah talking to a male. Do you think there's going to be enough here for a battered spouse, battered woman syndrome type of defense?
I mean, I think you could make the argument based on the history of battery from George to Sarah. However, when you think about the statements that she made post when the police arrived there, talking about, and the video, moreover in the video, talking about you cheated on me, and then the hide and seek defense, all those things seem to undermine the theory of the defense from that perspective.
Dave Ehrenberg, something else that we've now discovered is George Torres' brother, Pharrell Torres, apparently being charged with murder. This is from May of this year, May 29, charged with homicide without premeditation. He called 911, stated in the call, I stabbed her in the head. He said multiple times, I stabbed her because I was mad. Police arrived, they found Pharrell Torres' girlfriend face down on her stomach, pool of blood around her abdomen on the floor, turned to the right, steak knife sticking out of the right side of her face. That's George's brother. Does that have any relevance at all to this case?
No, that stuff's coming in, Vinny. That's not going to happen in this case, unless some jurors see this elsewhere and then bring it in with them, but that would be violating their oath. But to get what Rick was saying, I agree with him. I think it's going to be hard for her to really push this defense because her words on the video she recorded showed that she was the one taunting him, being mad at him for various things. And yes, even if he did lay hands on her, which apparently they both did to each other, you can't just go around killing people because of previous conduct. You have to be in imminent fear of your life at that time. This guy was locked up in a suitcase. She was taunting him. So I think the self-defense claim, the battered spouse defense, I think that falls flat. The only
Could she claim that if I let him out, I was scared of what would have happened if I let him out of that suitcase?
Yeah, she could try to claim that, and that may be her best defense, is to say I was drunk, number one, so I don't have the required elements of mens rea for murder, and I was worried, and maybe then you can get a manslaughter conviction. She is not walking free. She is not getting acquitted in this case, but there's a possibility she could get convicted of a lesser offense. I think that's the best thing her lawyer can hope for.
And Bremner, what do you think would have happened if she let George out of the suitcase?
Depends on when, right, Vinny? I mean, it depends on if she waited till the next morning or if she, did it that night. But I think maybe he would have attacked her, wouldn't you? I mean, if someone put you in a suitcase like that and taunted you, based on his prior behavior. So that's a good argument, basically that if he got out, he would have hurt her, and so she couldn't let him out.
Rick, are you shocked that this is going to trial, that they couldn't work something out?
Yes, I'm very shocked that it's going to trial for a couple of reasons. I'm shocked that first of all, they didn't grant the continuance. I really am. I agree with Mr. Ehrenberg on that they should have. I feel like just in the furtherance of justice and for her to fully appreciate her Sixth Amendment right to counsel, that they should have given a continuance. But I'm also shocked that there wasn't some sort of plea offered in this that was acceptable to the defense and to the state.
Great insight tonight, as always. Ann Bremner, Rick King, Dave Ehrenberg, thank you all so much. We'll see you again very soon, I'm sure. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates the murder of Hae Min Lee, the former girlfriend of Adnan Syed. Syed was in prison after being convicted, but then released when a new prosecutor had the conviction vacated. Now the appellate court has reinstated his conviction, and we'll take a look at the evidence in the case that launched the Serial podcast.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
The man who beat me up for 5 years.
Two celebrities reveal their turbulent relationship to the world.
Go ahead. Hit me. Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. New season premieres Sunday night, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And a star gymnast at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater was murdered, and a suspect has been arrested. The gymnast is Cara Welsh. Cara Welsh getting ready for another year at school, another year of being a really a standout athlete and a great young woman, but she's dead. Shot and killed. The suspect is Chad Richards, a 23-year-old who apparently had some sort of a relationship with Cara and was helping her move back in. Folks at the university are really upset about all this for obvious reasons. Cara Welsh from Scripps News Milwaukee has more tonight.
I can't even imagine being a freshman coming in and this being like your first introduction to life on campus.
Shocked, saddened, and even scared. 3 words UW Whitewater students like Olivia Roth and James Justin used to describe the loss of one of their well-known classmates, Cara Welsh.
Whitewater is a college town, and you know, everybody kind of knows everybody, and everybody's linked in some sort of way. So when something happens to one person, it trickles down, and it's really sad for everybody.
Whitewater police say Cara was shot and killed in this apartment about a mile away from campus.
A lot of our community that is impacted by this is the first tragic event that they've ever had in their lives.
Ryan Callahan is UW Whitewater's athletic director. He's gotten to know Cara during her 3 years as a Warhawk.
You look back at the greats that have ever put on a Warhawk uniform or a leotard, you know, specific to gymnastics. Cara's going to be on that list, you know, one of the best ever.
Cara was a 2-time Division III All-American. She won the 2023 Individual National Championship in vault, and she went on to help lead the team to a runner-up finish earlier this year at Nationals.
Obviously, her accomplishments are what they are, but, you know, it's the fact that she was just such a wonderful person that makes it even harder.
Ryan says Cara's teammates, coaching staff, and her family gathered with counselors over the weekend. Services that Ryan says are available to anyone on campus who needs it.
I think that is part of one of Whitewater's strengths, that we are such a community-based college. There's been a lot of support.
Always tough when you have murder on a college campus. Always a difficult situation. We'll continue to track this story and this trial for you, of course, on Court TV. In the meantime, please take a look at your television screens because we have a missing child. This is Kaylin Damaris Alonzo. Kaylin is just 16 years old, missing out of Inglewood, California since August 22nd. Here's what you need to do. Take a look at her photo. If you see Kaylin, pick up the phone, make the call. 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST. You can also call the Inglewood Police Department in California. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Kaylin to a safe place tonight.